Welcome to ServiceNation Summit 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats and join me in welcoming to the stage the President and CEO of Civic Enterprises, Mr. John Bridgeland.
Good morning. Good morning. I thought it was very funny. Someone last night at the reception said to me, you know, Bridge, America's been waiting to have a party like this around service for a long time. And it really is an extraordinary group. Last night's uplifting presidential forum was on service, so I'd like actually to begin by thanking Rick Stengel, Judy Woodruff, who moderated so brilliantly, Sarah Fairweather, who led a cadre of more than 100 volunteers who made the forum work. Could they please stand and be recognized? Last September, Rick Stengel, Ed McCarrick, and Time Magazine vaulted national and community service back into the national limelight with their cover story, The Case for National Service. The issue attracted the attention of all presidential candidates and leaders across America and presented this question: could we actually pull it off and take what Harris Wofford has called that quantum leap in engaging more Americans in full-time, part-time, and traditional volunteer service to tackle the big problems with the ingenuity of our people? Time agreed to help us create this day, an action-forcing forum and summit to give the presidential candidates, members of Congress, governors, mayors, leaders from all sectors a platform to share their visions and plans for creating a service nation. Vartan Gregorian and the Carnegie Corporation of New York, with their intellectual heft and convening power, stepped forward to underwrite and convene this summit. The AARP, on its 50th anniversary, with its 40 million members strong and new energy to engage 50-plus Americans in civic life, and Target, with its private sector leadership, together with Time, agreed to present this summit. Facebook signed up to be our social media partner, and outstanding leaders with huge reach and influence into our culture are serving as co-chairs: Caroline Kennedy, Alma Powell, Vartan Gregorian, Rick Stengel, Bill Novelli, and Laisha Ward, and Usher as youth chair. Usher actually makes me want to be young again. Enjoyed spending time with him last night. Many others came forward to support this effort, including the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, the Home Depot Foundation, Bank of America, the Case Foundation, and Jean as president of the Council on Service and Civic Participation, the Charina Endowment Fund, Goldhirsch Foundation, Lori Tisch Illumination Fund, the Genesis Group, McCormick Foundation, and many, many others. We are grateful to each of you. Please, a round of applause for them. What started out as Be the Change and Alan Casey, I've never seen a force quite like him. And Greg Proper, who needs a vacation now. City Year, Michael Brown, and Ann Mora Conley, two extraordinary Americans. Civic Enterprises, my own Mary McNaught. And truly one of the great leaders today in the field of volunteer service and civic engagement, Michelle Nunn of the Points of Light Institute and Hands On. That little group has now grown into a broad-based coalition of 112 organizations representing 100 million Americans. Today, this Service Nation Coalition is extraordinarily pleased to release this bold plan to make service the common expectation and experience of every American. The remarks, discussions, and announcements you will hear today from so many leaders will show we are pulling together to make that ambitious plan a reality. In fact, last night I think I heard that the next President of the United States will actually put many of these ideas and sign them into law. The coalition is also pleased to announce a declaration of service modeled on the citizens' petition that spawned the creation of the Peace Corps, and with help with people like Ted Sorensen and Mike Gerson and young people across the country, we hope you will sign that declaration and every American can sign it to become a part of ServiceNation. Our program appropriately begins today with a video reflection created by the 9/11 Museum and Memorial of a time 7 years ago that spawned a new culture of service and sacrifice. Thank you for your wonderful leadership, for your participation in ServiceNation. We are and can indeed become an even stronger service nation.
The reason we got through this to this point, not that we'll ever get over it, is because we work together, hand in hand. Set aside our egos, set aside our titles, set aside whatever it is that makes people think they're different, and work together. Ground Zero itself was sort of like the magnet. People got up and they said, I gotta be there. I have to be there.
There were so many people came down to help. I mean, from all over the country, buses would come in with the Red Cross, Salvation Army, a lot of kids.
People wanted to help in whatever way they could. Some people just handed out bottles on the highway to people. Some people went to comfort children.
You'd relieve another unit, you know, and they would go home and you would report and you would just start your digging, you know, and searching, and sometimes you would find somebody, sometimes you found a friend.
One thing that anyone who ever worked on this site will tell you is that they cried every day inside. There were some times that you couldn't hold it. There were some times. But that's what we bring to bear.
I think that's one of the things that makes America such a great country, is that, you know, whenever such a tragedy like this happens, you know, most people would expect America to be down and out, you know, and be like so depressed and down on themselves. But if anything, it's actually the exact opposite.
I got on my knees and I prayed and I asked the Lord, let me do something for these families. Let me reach out to them and give them comfort, because I knew in my heart they needed comfort.
After 9/11, we decided to make our restaurant an anchor of the neighborhood. And we served food to whoever was there, either rescue workers, utility people, firemen, policemen, and we created a place where there was an interaction of the community.
I was looking for something to do to honor my late brother who perished on September 11th. And so a close friend of mine had this idea about starting this organization that helps inspire people to mark September 11th as a day of service.
My sister Wendy worked in Tower 1 in the World Trade Center, and unfortunately my sister did not make it on that day. I remember speaking to my friends from California and simply saying, imagine if we went to Afghanistan and we built a school there. What a kick in the head to Osama bin Laden.
Basically, we got this huge plan, and we're gonna walk from Rossford to Shanksville and Ground Zero, and we're gonna do it in X amount of time, and we're gonna try and raise X amount of dollars, and that's pretty much how the idea started.
The mission of New York Says Thank You Foundation is every year on the 9/11 anniversary to take volunteers from New York City, send them somewhere in the country where they had a disaster, and rebuild something as our way of saying thank you for all the help we got after September 11th.
One of the most touching moments was the day of the actual opening of the school building. What I found were some of the most thankful people, people that were so excited that we were there.
We raised over $17,000 for the September 11th memorials, both in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and also in New York City at Ground Zero. Obviously, I felt that huge sense of relief, a sense of accomplishment.
We've had great success so far. Millions of people around the world have participated on or around September 11th by doing things on a simple scale or a very large scale for others in need.
Quilts are very comforting. And to be honest with you, I didn't know how comforting until I started giving out the quilts to the families, and I started getting the response from the families. And each of those quilts are really made with so much love, and the families feel it.
For the 9/11/2008 anniversary, we're going to do the country's largest barn raising. We're going to build a 14,000 square foot barn in Greensburg, Kansas, which was a town that was 95% destroyed by an F5 tornado last May.
After 9/11, there was a tremendous spirit in the country, and I'd like to keep that going. I think that's important for a country.
People should stop and remember on 9/11, not just what happened on 9/11, but what happened on 9/12, and how they felt when they saw folks with, Chicago firefighter, badges on their sleeves showing up to direct traffic in New York, and people from small towns in California and just around the world who converged on our city. It changed us forever.
The more we keep the American spirit, the sense of unity, and the more that we care for each other, the more that we keep that alive, the better off we're all going to be in the end.
Our mission all along has really been to just capture that sense of unity and compassion that was so natural after September 11th, and build on people's inherent need to do something good for somebody else.
When an individual helps with the well-being of a community, the individual is enhanced, and the community is enhanced.
When we do these 9/11 anniversary weekend projects, hundreds of people will come up to me and say, "God bless you, and thank you for what you're doing." And I tell them, hey, we're just doing what people did for us, and you want to thank me, show up at the next one.
We just got to open that little door a little wider and have people know that, we can make a difference.
There can be beauty from ashes. It's hard work, but it can happen.